My spouse had an affair with her ex-college student, so I contacted AP's wife and we got revenge. There is nothing that love can't make you do. I'm 37M, married to Kate, 35F, for 2 years. Kate is a professor at City College, and I'm into marketing. We met at a common friend's party and befriended each other. We got connected on social media, but nothing happened between us for a long time. She was dating someone at that time, and even I was in an on-off relationship. Some 4 years ago, it was on her birthday that I wished her on Facebook. It was well past midnight. That chat went on for the whole night, and we ended up meeting the next day for coffee. She had no plans for her birthday, so I took her out for dinner and a long drive. It started from there, and fast forward to 2 years back, we got married. In fact, it was only last month that we celebrated our second anniversary. Our life was running smoothly until a few weeks ago when my friend told me he had seen Kate with a man who looked quite young, in his 20s. I asked him what a big deal about it. He could be a friend. My friend hesitantly told me their body language didn't suggest he was a friend. They were sitting very close to each other, and the guy's hand was on Kate's waist, and his lips were almost feeling her cheeks. My friend said he stood there for a while to see if it was just a mere misunderstanding, but he actually saw them cuddling. I asked him if he had taken any pictures of them. He said it happened so suddenly that it just didn't click him to take pictures. Besides, it was a public place, and he was afraid that people would have frowned at him for clicking a couple in their romantic moment. Although I believed my friend, it was just too vague to confront Kate about this. I could not just label her to be a cheater on the basis of what my friend had seen. On returning home, I saw Kate busy reading a book. I wanted to ask her if she had met her friend that day, but I couldn't figure out the best way to ask this without sounding suspicious. It would have been easier if we were a couple who shared every minute details of the day with each other. It wasn't that we didn't share anything, but we didn't share everything, just the important ones. In order to get into the zone, I started small talks with Kate. I made up a story that I bumped into my school friend today at a client meeting. He was our client, and we ended up having lunch together. Her reaction was very generic. "Oh, that's nice. Must have been great catching up with your old friend." I was like, "Yeah." I further asked her about her day. She said it was just normal, nothing special had happened, and got back into reading her book. I sensed that something was off. If that guy was her friend or colleague, she would have told me about having lunch with him. He was indeed not her friend. From that day onward, my mind got alert and I started noticing Kate very closely. I noticed her for a few days but found nothing suspicious in her behavior. However, I just couldn't let it go, so I made my next move, checking her phone. So, that night, when she was asleep, I logged into her phone. Her inbox and social media were clean except for the general chats from her colleagues and students. Then I checked her phone log, but nothing seemed suspicious. I scrolled the history to look up the call history of the day when my friend had seen her with a man. I found a phone call just during the time my friend had seen them together. The contact was saved as Rumi 16, which meant he was her student of the 2016 batch. Kate saves the contact of her student with name and batch number for easy recognition. I was perplexed. It was still believable that she was sitting closely with a friend but with her student. It sounds so weird and gross. I realized that I scanned the chats of her colleagues and friends but didn't see the chats of her students. Your wife sleeping with her student is the last thing one can imagine. I opened her WhatsApp again and looked for Rumi's chat, and there it was. She had been sexting him for the last few months. Prior to that, the chat was of 2016, with messages of farewell and good wishes. It seemed that 2 months ago, he texted her that he was back in the city. Apparently, he moved to Texas after his graduation. I didn't have the time to read all the messages one by one, so I exported the chat to my mail and deleted the history. I wanted to read everything she had been saying to her young lover. I spent the night reading and rereading the conversation. After reading the messages, I got to know that we were in a physical relationship while he was still in college. It started when Kate started taking his class in his final year. Rumi realized that Kate was having a soft corner for him, and hence, he started softly flirting with her. Kate ignored it initially but indulged and confessed to him that she felt an unresisted desire to feel his body. That's how their physical relationship started. However, towards the end of college, he fell in love with a girl, apparently the daughter of a rich businessman in Texas, and decided to move to Texas with his girlfriend after graduation. Kate got disheartened to know, and to cheer her up, Rumi did her multiple times during his last few months of stay in college. When I was reading the text on her phone, I read only until the farewell wishes and didn't scroll up further. But I am glad I exported all the chat, which helped me understand the full story. I'm sure Kate wouldn't have revealed all these in detail. You know the fun part, Kate was dating someone else during that period. This means that she has always been a cheater. Kate and Rumi had been NC since he moved out, just normal wishes on birthdays and Christmas. Some 3 months back, Rumi texted her that she had shifted back to the city with his wife. His rich GF from Texas was now his wife, and now he is taking care of his Phil's business in the city. Rumi initiated the conversation with Kate by saying he missed her body and wanted to taste her again. Kate's initial response to his advances showed that she resisted, but eventually, she gave up and slept with him a few times. Scanning the messages, it looked like it was 4 to 5 times. By the time I finished reading the chats, it was already dawn. I had work the next day, so I tried to get some sleep. By the time I woke up, she had already left for college. I also made my breakfast and went to the office. When I returned from the office, Kate wasn't at home. Usually, she comes back from the college by 5 p.m., but it was 7 p.m., and she had still not arrived. She usually used to hang out with her friends and colleagues after college, and it never bothered me. This time, it was different. I wanted her to be home so that we could have the confrontation and get done with it. I had all the evidence, so there was no point beating around the bush. The revelation was suffocating me, and I wanted it to be over as soon as possible. As the time passed, I got restless. I called her and asked her to come home. She asked me if everything was fine because I had never done like this before. Within 30 minutes, she was home. When she entered the house, I was sitting on the front porch. She understood that the matter was serious because I was neither with my phone or iPad, just sitting idle. She rushed toward me and asked me what was wrong. I told her, "Sorry I disturbed your meeting with Rumi." "That's his name, right?" She gave a cold look at me and asked what I meant. I said there was no need to play hide and seek anymore. She said I was accusing her baselessly. I showed her the chat exports, and she froze. She stood silent for a moment and then accused me of breaching her privacy. Really? I sneaked into her phone, and that was a privacy breach, and she sneaking into other men's pants is no crime. Wow. I asked her if her last breakup was also due to this Rumi guy. She snapped at me that it was not my business. But I kept repeating myself like a psychopath, and she confessed that her last boyfriend had also broken up when he got to know that she was sleeping with her student. I laughed and asked how she could be so foolish to destroy her relationship for a man who had sorted out all his aspects of life and was leading it peacefully. She fought back, saying he was really addictive. What? Is his blood filled with cocaine? I told her that she had to leave the house because we were living in my house. She looked unremorseful and said there was no reason to be overly dramatic, it was just physical, and no emotions were involved. She asked me to reconsider the decision as I was being impulsive. I said so be it and asked her to leave. She stamped her foot and went inside, shouting that I would regret my decision and come back running to her in 2 days, pleading with her to come back home. Ha, really? She was f-king delusional. Pleading her for reconciliation would be the last thing I'd do in my life. She packed her stuff while I sat on the front porch. While leaving, she didn't even look at me and went out straight. I told her that I would be sending the divorce papers soon and that if she had the same level of self-respect as that day, she should sign it uncontested. She didn't say anything and left. She was behaving as if it were my crime, and I made the mistake of checking her phone and uncovering her cheating. While leaving the house, she gave me an evil vibe that she was not going to let it go easily. If she had been civil, I would have let it go, but the way she showed her tantrums, I badly wanted to destroy her ego. I searched for this Rumi on social media before he would block me. I scavenged his wife's profile and sent her the request, as her account was private. Meanwhile, I hired a lawyer. Rumi's wife didn't accept my request even after 2 days. So I didn't wait for her further. I sent her a few sections of the sex chats between Rumi and Kate, and she replied to me within an hour, asking about me for more details. I told her that I was Kate's husband with whom Rumi had been sleeping. I also sent the section of the chat where Rumi was talking about her and her rich dad's business. She asked me if I could send her the whole conversation. I actually wanted to meet her and reveal everything but didn't make the move because it would have looked creepy. I asked for her email and sent it to her. She asked me how did I discover the truth, and I told her everything in detail. I told her to read the messages carefully, and she would get all the clarity. After a couple of hours, she responded, asking if I had confronted this Kate. I said yes. She said that she would involve her father to deal with Rumi and went offline. I wanted to check the status with her, but she has been offline since that conversation. It's been 3 days since then, hence, I'm scared for that woman if she is safe. Rumi was using her for her father's money. I'm afraid he had harmed her after she got to know the truth. I'm trying to reach out to her through other social media and emails, but no luck. Hopefully, she is fine. Meanwhile, my lawyer is working on getting divorce papers ready. I'll make an update when the situation escalates. Update 1, thanks for the affirmation. I really thought I was making an impulsive decision, but I did it anyway. I felt so positive when everyone patted me on my post and sent me kudos, saying I made a brave move. Thank you all. Okay, so I have some updates. Remember I said Rumi's wife was not responding. She disappeared for a good week. When I finally got a response, I was not relieved but suspicious if it was she or if it was Rumi from her phone, so I asked her for a call. She saw my messages where I was showing my concern about her safety. She called me immediately, and then I was relieved. She told me that as soon as she completed reading the messages, she took the first flight to Texas. She was alone in this city and didn't want to deal with Rumi alone, who sounded so shady on the chat, so she involved her parents. She had switched off her phone for a week at her lawyer's suggestion because Rumi was trying all means to contact her. Her parents were afraid that if he got to talk to her, he might be able to convince her by giving some SHT reasons. She said she was not dumb to fall for his words, yet she followed her lawyer's advice. Do you know what Rumi's Phil do to him? It is classic. They didn't confront him regarding the cheating. Instead, they said that they had identified some accounting issues in the office handled by Rumi, and until it was over, he should stay away from his wife. Rumi was not able to place his fingers on the sudden suspicions of his in-laws. His Phil thought that a cheating case in court would not have done a lot of damage to Rumi because the court doesn't punish you for infidelity. At max, he would have been asked to pay alimony for the mental stress of his wife, but his Phil didn't need money, he wanted to destroy him. A few days after this, do you know who reached out to me? Rumi. His exact words were, "Dude, your wife is f***ing delusional. She is making up stories and insisting I marry her. Doesn't she know I'm 10 years younger than her? Yes, we had sex, but I can't marry everyone I sleep with." What happened was, when Rumi told Kate about his issues with his in-laws, Kate said that it was I who had leaked the chats to his wife. But Rumi said that no one was talking about the affair, they were concerned about the accounting issue in the company. Rumi thought Kate was using the opportunity to convince him to marry her. I was actually laughing at his messages. He is no less delusional than Kate. He genuinely thought that his in-laws were upset because of the accounting issues and had no clue about his cheating. At least a month after the D-Day, the divorce paper was ready. I called Kate's mother and asked if she was staying with her. She was shocked at my question because Kate was not with her. She asked me if everything was fine. I told her the truth. She didn't believe me and wanted me to share the evidence. By then, I was so exhausted proving this to everyone that I didn't care to make her believe me. I told her that I was sending the divorce papers to her house and told her to get it signed by her daughter. An hour after that, my phone was bombarded with Kate's abusive voicemails accusing me of destroying her and Rumi's life. I didn't block her because I wanted to see her true colors and how low she could stoop to abuse me. My relationship with her might be shorter compared to some of you who shared their cheating wife/husband stories, yet I was with this woman for 4 long years. I married her, and it was indeed painful to separate from her. When she was done abusing me, I blocked her. It's been a week since then, but she has yet to sign the divorce papers. I checked with Rumi's wife as well to see if her divorce proceeding has begun. That princess is holidaying in Vegas to get out of the depression while her father is dealing with Rumi. Rich people have their own way of dealing with things. I'll update once all these are over. Right now, I just want to stay away from Kate's thoughts as much as I can and move on with my life. Update 2. My divorce is finally settled. Yes, thank you. There was one common comment in my last update that they see me dating Rumi's ex-wife because of the way I showed my concern. No, guys, I'm in no mood to get into this mess. Besides, she is not my type. I cannot imagine, or afford, a luxurious trip after every misery in my life, and neither do I intend on leeching on her father's money, especially after knowing how they have dealt with Rumi. Rumi's father-in-law accused Rumi of embezzling the company's funds, and he somehow proved this in court. I don't know if Rumi actually siphoned money from his Phil company or if he was just framed. Rumi's wife didn't know the details of how her father was able to prove this. I told you she is a rich princess who doesn't know the price of the vegetables, lol. They used his fraud as a basis for separating his daughter from Rumi. His wife did whatever she was told by her father. Rumi was fined a hefty amount and had 3 months to pay the amount. In case he defaults, he would be charged criminally. The amount is f***ing huge, and she is sure that Rumi would not be able to pay that huge amount of money, and he might ultimately land up in jail. Besides, it has cost him huge reputational damage which mere cheating wouldn't have done. Rumi's Phil is indeed a bad SS man. As far as my case is concerned, Kate played a lot of tricks before signing the papers. She wanted my house as the alimony. She used to be at the forefront of talking about feminism, and when she actually had to show her morals, she stooped so low to rip me off my house. I don't know if this was feminism, according to her. She was the one who cheated on me and yet she needed to be compensated. What kind of logic is this? But thank God I had a competent lawyer who fought through this and secured my house from her claws, and thank God I had the evidence of her infidelity. I have read so many stories of victims who had been cheated upon, plus ripped off from their property/houses. I wanted a clean divorce, but she made it complicated, so I also played along. She told her colleagues that she was divorcing me because I was cheating on her, and hence, she wanted the house as the alimony as compensation. Plus, she got all the sympathy from her friends and colleagues. So, I did what I should have done much earlier. I sent her explicit chats with Rumi to a few of her colleagues, and you know how people are hungry for gossip at the workplace. The chats got circulated amongst all the faculties, and Kate became the gossip subject in the teacher's room. Kate called me from a landline and abused me badly for leaking her chats. This time, I gave it back to her. I told her to sign the papers, or else I would leak them to her friends as well as to her college students, and it might become the next viral thing in the city. My voice was cold and stern and she knew I could do it. I never thought of playing this dirty, but she forced me to. In fact, I didn't share it with her mother when she didn't believe my words because I never intended to humiliate her in this way. She agreed to my divorce terms and signed the papers in the next court hearing. Finally, I'm divorced and free from her trap. My friends are insisting that I start dating again, but I want to wait for some time before jumping on this bandwagon. Also, I haven't been in touch with Rumi's wife since her last update on Rumi's court case. Neither I'm interested to know what happens to him. I was in touch with her only until my divorce, but now, as it is settled, I don't want any traces of my past in my present life. I just want to move on. Little inspired by the Princess, Rumi's ex-wife, I'm also planning for a solo trip. No, not to Vegas, but to Montana. Hopefully, I come back strong and fresh after my mountain trek in Montana. Thanks for hearing me out and cheering for me. Now on to the next story. Story 2. I slept with my wife's affair partner's wife and I am divorcing her soon. We got married almost 3 years ago. She started having an affair with her coworker 1 year ago. I got to know that because I saw his car outside my house one day. I had my suspicions. I hired a PI and gathered evidence that she was having an affair with him. I was angry. Then I got a call from the coworker's wife that she came to know about the affair. She only had texts they used to send, but I have all the receipts of their hangouts. Together we decided to confront them. We used to meet up a lot. She told me she had suspected his affair since her pregnancy. They have 3 children together. One day we had an idea that we should sleep with each other as revenge. We did, and not going to lie, it felt good. We have been meeting and having sex for a while. She is an amazing woman. I would say she is better at some things in bed than my wife. Mostly, I am very angry towards my wife. Because in some of her texts with her affair partner she and AP made fun of AP's wife. Saying things like she has gained weight, her vagina was destroyed and other disgusting stuff. I cannot believe that she would say something like this while being a woman. She even made fun of my fertility issues, saying that I am not a man because the chances of me having kids is very low. I do not feel bad about my affair. I like the sex life I had with AP's wife way more than my wife. She hardly ever gives me oral but expects me to give her one. At least AP's wife was more enthusiastic about it and it was the best oral I ever had. AP's wife wants to tell his husband. I guess we are both tired about carrying out the revenge affair. We both got carried away. We were both so driven by the revenge that we got addicted to it. I will confront my wife soon. I already have the divorce papers ready. Since we do not have a joint account or marital assets, it will be easy for us. AP's wife might have some problems because they have kids, but she has the power to take them to cleaners. I know I sound like an awful person. But I am already checked out of my marriage. Updates 1. I slept with my wife's affair partner's wife and I am divorcing her soon. I totally forgot about this Reddit account. Well, I do have an update like most of you requested. I served her divorce papers on 16th of July. I delayed because I needed to get some things in order. So, I served her divorce papers at her work. When she came home, I packed up her things and told her to go and stay with her dad. She did what typical cheaters do, she begged, apologized and blamed me for her affair. I was prepared for all of that. She was stubborn and told me she will not leave and will fix our marriage. I reminded her the house belongs to my parents. Their name is on the house. If she doesn't leave I can call them and have her evicted. I had already called her sister. I thought she would take her away from me, but her sister blamed me instead. That I am not a good husband if I am giving up my marriage that easily. This is where I became a bit petty and told her this is very hypocritical coming from a woman who left her husband for his cousin. I guess the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. She slapped me. I warned her this is their last chance or else I will call the police on her for assaulting me. After she left, the messages didn't stop. I didn't block her because I wanted to screenshot some of it. She said she was sorry, begging me to take her back. She mocked me and said she never enjoyed any love making that we did and she and her AP had sex on every furniture in our house. I don't know how much of it true, but I will be replacing my furniture regardless. I wanted to tell her the OBS and I defiled her car by having sex on it. But I didn't. The last time I spoke to her she apologized to me. This time the apology seems sincere. She told me she got carried away. Lately she has been thinking about having kids. As I have mentioned in my previous post, I cannot have children. She knew that and told me she wants to be child-free. But now that she is in her mid-30s she has been really wanting to become a mom. And the fact that I cannot give it to her angered her and cheated just to cope with it. She told me she was wrong and I was the best partner and husband anyone could ever have, but she just wanted more. I asked her why didn't she just say so? We could have adopted or went to a sperm bank. I asked her if she was pregnant. I don't know, but it looked like she was. She murmured yes. I knew this wasn't my baby. All hopes for reconciliation is out the window now. Imagine if I never discovered the affair, she would have passed this pregnancy as miracle baby. I just congratulated her and said I hope she has a wonderful baby. I want this divorce ASAP. As for AP's wife, she also served her husband and taking him to the cleaners. She is not backing down. I only talked to her a couple of times. She ranted a lot that she wasted her best years and youth on a disgusting man. She complained she left her modeling career just to be with them and whatnot. I think she still looks hot. We didn't have any contact for a while. There was one time she drunk texted me with a sleazy picture asking me to come over. But I refused. She did apologize after that. We are not planning on dating anytime soon. Not unless all the divorce proceedings are over. But I do miss her a lot. Also, I got a cat. My STB ex-wife hated cats. Now my house will be a cat kingdom.